Hi everyone, welcome. Sorry again, I get caught up too much coffee in the morning. Welcome to Build's Character. I am joined by the amazing Lauren Urban. She is D&D Beyond's own community manager. She is just an all-around wonderful person. I defy you to find a single D&D live stream where she is not being supportive in chat and cheering on all of the heroes at every moment. She is everywhere all the time. She's a fantastic person. And we're going to talk about silly stuff. And we're going to talk about errata.
We're going to talk about
errata.
We're going to talk about rules and fun rules. And then we're going to talk about a lot of kobolds and orcs, which are always fun. And now I have to call my next character, not shenanigans. What were we talking about before?
Oh my God, I've already forgotten.
You know what? It was 10 minutes. It was 10 seconds ago, and we've already forgotten.
Bug swaddle?
Chat's probably telling us now. Moderator will be like, "Yeah, this is the word that you were shenanigans. Who knows? Well, all the words. Those are fun names for characters.
Cheeky shenanigans.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a dive into the Sage Advice that just came out. That included a whole bunch of errata changes and some rules stuff. We're specifically going to be looking at things that could inspire characters, because sometimes these kind of updates or looking at a specific rule, at least for me, I find it inspires a character or an idea of a character. And then a little bit later, we'll be getting into specifically kobolds and orcs, because kobolds and orcs no longer have negative modifiers, which makes me super happy and makes my pack of kobold characters really happy. And the couple of orcs that I have, but I mostly have a lot of kobolds. I have a ton of kobolds. So you can check out the errata in, there'll be links in the chat. There'll be links in the YouTube video. So you can go see that. It's also been updated on our site, and there's a forum post where you can see all of the updates. And we're not going to talk about everything, but there were a couple of things that I pulled out that I thought would be fun to start with. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to throw a rod at you. So straight from Jeremy Crawford and the wonderful people at Wizards of the Coast. Question number 1, if a character hits a monk with a dwarven thrower and the monk uses deflect missiles, does the hammer return to the attacker first, or can the monk catch it? And the answer, the monk can catch it.
Oh, wow. I would have not suspected that. That is terrifying. I mean, I like that for that kind of Hela from Thor Ragnarok kind of feel.
You can literally replay that moment. Or I was thinking more just the fun of Captain America and Thor. Like,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have ruled it that way as a DM necessarily, like just off the top of my head. But I mean, it does say, I mean, you catch the item, and now you have the item.
And it's a ranged attack when you throw the dwarven thrower.
Monks, make sure that you know how to throw hammers. This is one of your monk weapons for that really cool moment.
Right? So now the question becomes, so the dwarven thrower, it then comes back to you. If someone has caught it, if they don't throw it, if the monk just catches it and doesn't throw it back to you, but holds on to it, do you now have to do a tug of war with the monk in order to try to get your weapon back? And like, you kind of think about that thing in melee with people, and where they might be able to catch your weapon and disarm you or grapple you. But when you throw something, you're usually not thinking about either getting what you've thrown back or having it thrown back at you. So I kind of want to do this now and see what happens if I catch a dwarven thrower and then that grapple happens. Give me my weapon back. No, it's mine now.
Because it requires attunement, right?
I think so. You know what? I should have had the dwarven thrower pulled up when I asked this question, but I thought it was funny. Here we go.
It is amazing. Sorry for muting. I had to tell my wife, I love you and have a good time at work.
How dare you love your wife?
I know.
How dare, yeah. Okay, dwarven thrower. It does require attunement. You gain a +3 bonus to attack, but when you hit with a ranged attack using this weapon, it deals extra 1d8 damage. Immediately after the attack, the weapon flies back to your hand, unless a monk has said, nope, mine. So there you go. Yeah. Play monks, stunning strike everything. Play monk kobolds. I'm going to be talking about my monk kobold later. I'm excited.
You got this deep love for monks that I rarely witnessed, but yeah.
Listen, the first time you get into a boss fight, a big bad evil person fight, and you stunning strike them.
Oh, it's the best.
and then you just get to keep stunning strike them. Those other times where you're like, I'm not doing a ton of damage or anything. It's the best. It is amazing. It's some of the stuff. Playing a monk, I think, is as close to reenacting some of the stuff you see in movies about like monks and ninjas. Like, it's the being able to run across water and up walls, being able to parkour off of things, being able to just not have to worry about being poisoned or dying, or there's all sorts of stuff. Anyway, we're getting way off track.
I was
Play
just
monks.
watching IP Man again.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want to play a character who's healthy and takes care of themselves and is mentally sound. I wonder
Right?
why during all of this I'm gravitating towards monks in the
Because
world
you
we
get
live
all
in.
of that. You just
get all that.
naturally get all of that. Plus you get to go fast. So be an Aarakocra monk and fly super, super fast.
I knew Aarakocra was going to get in there somehow.
Yeah, listen,
Listen.
you have me on the show.
You
know what you're
Aarakocra.
gonna get. Yeah. Other stuff in errata. Can a school of divination wizard on the ethereal plane use portent on a creature that the wizard can see on the material plane? The answer is yes. Portent requires you to be able to see the creature, but has no range restriction, which I find amazing. And
yeah, that is rough. Like if you're just watching, you're like, no, you slip on a banana peel.
It does make me wonder if there are other powers, and I'd have to look, but other than the portent that the divination wizard get, if there's other powers that don't have that range restriction that we've just never thought of. Because, I mean, not just being in the ethereal plane, I'm literally thinking, you take the observant feat and you're a mile and a half away from somebody, but you can see them. And now you're a wizard rogue who has poisoned someone and you're watching them through the window a mile away, and then you portent their saving throw against your poison.
And, I mean, if you're playing like a Twilight Domain cleric and you have endless dark vision for miles, and you're just like, no, you fail.
Yep.
Like you just fail at whatever. You're just sitting there flying above, or Aarakocra flying around, just observing you until there's a critical moment. And the diviner forces you to fail,
or succeeding, being like Overwatch for a person that you're trying to protect.
That's interesting. Like a group of diviners who are purposely almost like angelic Aarakocra who are trying to steer events towards the positive is interesting.
Yep, just being around to say, no, you get an actual 19 on that roll, or no, you're actually going to succeed on that thing, however you want to say it in character.
Yeah.
Let's see. What happens to objects brought inside and left inside Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion when the spell ends? Now, I think I knew about this ahead of time, or this was something I'd always assumed. And then it came up recently in an episode of Critical Role, and they actually play acted this out. So I won't spoil anything. But the answer that's given in the errata is the intent is that objects are ejected from the mansion when the spell ends and appears in an unoccupied space closest to where the door was. This intent will be reflected in future printings of the player's handbook. So if you go to D&D Beyond, or if you go to if you get a new version of the player's handbook, it sounds like Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion is going to get a wording update. But I think I knew about this, but the fact that it's been clarified that way brings up all kinds of interesting ideas, because Magnificent Mansion lasts for a while, and being able to like place that somewhere and put something inside that then is going to get spat back out. If you need to plant something in someone's house and you use the mansion as a distraction. I'm going to show you this awesome thing that I can do, and then you're going to leave something behind so that when the mansion goes away, the thing is left behind. Like, that could be a lot of fun.
I like it.
Let's see. What happens if I'm polymorphed or wild shaped into a creature with fewer than 100 hit points, and then I'm targeted by power word kill? The answer, you die. I do appreciate when the answers are straight and to the point. You die. I was surprised by this one. I thought I would have ruled the other way as a DM. Honestly, I would have ruled, but apparently power word kill, you're in trouble. You're going to just die.
You have been the victim of this particular spell, and watched your friends be a victim of this spell far too much. I would go so far to say that Orkira has a certain level of PTSD when it comes to this particular issue.
Yeah. I mean, the only good thing about power word kill is that they just die, and it's not like Finger of Death, where then there's really nothing you can do. At least power
Hmm.
word kill, like especially if you're playing a cleric, there are responses to that. Finger of Death is the thing is a DM that I tend to take off of my monsters because I'd like my players to still have their character when they're done. So, killing them is one thing, turning them into a zombie is something else. But yeah.
That is the scary proposition of that, right? And it's something I've overlooked for a very long time in fifth edition, was the fact that like once you're a zombie, you're a zombie. You can't revivify. If you revivify it, it's a zombie. Like it's done. It's a done deal. And
Or any
that's kind of
undead.
like the creepiness of necromancy,
Yeah.
the dark side of necromancy, rather. Yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, character death is kind of important sometimes to define the game, but that's interesting. Yeah.
And as I said, there's one thing about killing a character, is another that about killing a character and then immediately raising it as a zombie from the dead and having it controlled by like you got to be really cautious about that. But we're getting off topic.
That's true. That's
We're
true.
more into DM stuff. Can a sphere of annihilation enter a Leomund's tiny hut? The answer is yes, but the
Yeah.
sphere destroys the dome, which isn't as much fun as I was hoping, because I was hoping for the Alindra tiny hut inside of Morden, inside an Autolux resilient sphere, inside a magnificent mansion, inside a bag. Like I was kind of hoping for something like that.
We've had some chicanery with bags of holding and portable holes. So yeah, I would I don't know, I'd be very sorely tempted to cause something very weird to happen there.
It's an interesting thing, because this also indicates that, because it says, can a sphere of annihilation enter a Leomund's tiny hut? So the question is, if you're in the tiny hut and you cast you cast a sphere of annihilation, what happens then?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just hang? I mean, it's big, so it'd be hard to hang out in a tiny hut with a sphere of annihilation, but that's a different problem. All right, so we're gonna get into some more nitty-gritty stuff, and we're gonna get into some character concepts shortly. But I'm asking for Todd's help on this one. Can an artificer dismiss one of their infusions on an object early? So I have yet to play an artificer, but my husband does, and this question came up, and I had a different answer than what has come up in errata, which is no. An infusion lasts until one of the circumstances described in the infusing an item section in the infuse item feature, which I had always read the part in the infusing item saying the infusion also vanishes if you give up your knowledge of the infusion for another one. So what does giving up your knowledge of the infusion mean? Does that mean literally
Yeah,
I can no longer make this infusion at all?
It's weirdly worded, and I would always go with the DM's call on that in particular, because you may find that an infusion isn't very functional. This is how I am about anything in D&D, sometimes to a fault, is if it's not working for you, move on. I think it's strange to suddenly decide you don't know how to make a thing, because you only have so many infusions you can make already. So just because you have the knowledge of a thing, that doesn't it's the wording is weird for even me, and I have not played artificers that much. Like my wife Megan has played them way more than I have. I played armorer for like a minute, and I love artificers, by the way, and there's lots you can do, but I've never really gotten to the nitty gritty of replacing infusions later on, because I actually haven't felt the need to. Right, so it's I think that gets into some DM's call kind of stuff, but like if it's worded that way and you can erase that knowledge, I don't see why you could ever not get that knowledge back. I think maybe you just have to restudy. You know how you take vacation and you come back to work and then you're like, I don't know how to do my job. You know, like you've just like, I don't know how to make bags of holding anymore. And you have to kind of relearn how to do that again.
Listen,
Maybe.
sometimes I just wake up in the morning and I've forgotten how to do things. So I totally get that. I don't know. I guess
Yeah. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. I don't think it's very game breaking either way. And I like the idea of that inventor who can constantly change up their infusions personally.
That's the appeal to me. Is I know a lot of the stuff is items that you probably wouldn't want to be getting rid of on a regular basis, like a bag of holding or a magic weapon or something like
Yeah.
that. But I kind of like the utility of an infuser being able to juggle what they're making to fit the circumstances that they're in. I mean, the same way that some classes can change up their spells to, to try to be prepared for an event, being able to mix up your infusions, but now
Yeah.
there's like this whole extra, what does it actually take? Because there's other ways of replacing those magic items and coming up with new ones that don't involve dying. So I
Yeah.
wonder if that just becomes part of the routine at night, thinking about what you got to make.
I certainly wouldn't allow them to ever replace all of their items every night or anything like that. I think that's abusive.
Mm,
So, and I think it's like it should take you some amount of time. I think doing it, oh man, as a dungeon master, I would let you do it every once in a while, like after a long rest, maybe one item kind of thing. I could see you deciding as a dungeon master only when you level up can you switch one of those things out,
mm.
right? But I don't know. It really is your call. To switch everything out seems a little too advantageous, especially when we look at the infusions you get later.
Mm.
When you're like, I can just make a cloak of elven kind, right? Like I can just create these very, very powerful magical items as an artificer. It becomes abusive if you can like just decide what you have on you at any time. So I can see why that's that way.
Although, is it the same argument for classes that can switch up their spells at the beginning of the day? Like, is that really that different, or
Though,
is this just the artificer version of that?
well, it's an interesting question, like because in a way you're kind of deciding how you're defining your artificer and how you're specializing. Again, we play with Megan Kenrick, who plays Sophias, who is an artificer artillerist, and they've chosen cloak of the elven kind, gloves of thievery. Like it's all stealth stuff, and it makes you incredibly stealthy, and that's kind of like that focus, right? Um, so you're kind of determining what kind of character you are, but those items are so powerful, right? Like gloves of thievery give you like a +5 to your sleight of hand or something, or maybe it's even +10. I can't remember, but it's a lot. Um, and so these magical items are intentionally more powerful because your DM can typically limit what you get, right? Like I'm pretty stingy with magical items, and when I'm not, I kind of regret it. Uh, but an artificer can just make these things, and that's incredibly powerful, especially with a low magic ceiling kind of game. To be able to just knock out Cloak of Elvenkind is a huge deal. So
And it's
yeah,
not like any of these are magic items that are one and dones or not going to be useful in a bunch of different circumstances. I mean, the goggles of the night are going to be helpful a lot of the time, especially for any character that doesn't have dark vision.
yeah.
Sending stones are always there are always times
Oh,
where you need sending.
Rocky talkies are always important.
Yeah, and if you're the kind of party that gets split, then that's what happens.
Yeah.
We did get some questions. Let me see. From Tar Heel JP, could an Aarakocra fly with heavy armor using the infiltration power armor from the Artificer subclass UA Armorer?
I would rule. Oh boy. I feel like it's skin tight and it's on your body. I don't know what it says about encumbrance right now. I did play the armor, and actually I sorely missed the armor to be honest, because as you level up, it becomes like way more it becomes a lot more fun. I mean, artificers are amazingly fun. I recommend them to everyone, especially at 7th level when you get the incredibly powerful ability of a genius type of inspiration. That's not what it's called, but it's
Flash of
flash of
genius.
inspiration. You can add your intelligence modifier to anyone's ability saving throw or ability check, and that includes skills. That is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it as many times per day as your intelligence modifier. This is just like a loaded bless. Like you're just like, no, you succeed. You succeed. I succeed.
Everyone succeeds.
Yeah, I'm so smart that I know how to deceive you. Even though I don't have a very high deception roll, I'm like, you know what though? I am pretty smart. So I'm just going to add that to that.
So now we make that Aarakocra diviner wizard artificer who can not only change the outcome of a roll, but then also give you a bonus to it and say, not only am I going to make sure you succeed, but I'm going to make sure you succeed by a long shot, no matter what your bonuses are.
I am in love with a Aarakocra that is an artificer in that stealth outfit that says shooting lightning.
There you go.
like your next swing. He's just flying around. I know that your stealth checks are not hurt by it.
Nope.
But I think you still have a certain level of encumbrance, and so I think it would probably get disallowed. I think ultimately, but who knows?
Or you have a DM like me who you say Aarakocra and I say sure. We did have one other artificer question that's related to this. Commander Vibral says, so were you ignoring the last bit of infusions? Quote, if you try to exceed your maximum number of infusions, the oldest infusion immediately ends and then the new infusion applies. No, so this is what I was talking about. There are other ways of switching out your infusions that don't involve you dying. You can technically just sit and make the infusions that you want and basically just shove down the line. You know, if you've got 3 infusions and you need the second one to go away, you just remake 3 of them. So you kind of can do that and cycle them out. But, you know, once again, it's kind of up to your DM. But let's go back to sage advice and get off of artificers.
We're easily distracted.
And move to paladins, because 2 things came up in the errata in regards to that are specifically for paladins, I think anyway, that I don't think are new, but the fact that they've been clarified makes me super happy. And then we're going to show off some characters. So the first question was, can a paladin use Divine Smite when they're hit using an unarmed strike? So the answer to that was no. Divine Smite requires a melee attack using a weapon. The rules don't consider unarmed strikes to be weapons.
Oh, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Yes,
this is why I want gauntlets. This is why I want a gauntlet.
Well, but let me offer you something else in a different question that came up. Are natural weapons considered weapons? So the answer to that was things designated as weapons by the rules, including natural weapons, are indeed weapons. In contrast, unarmed strikes are not weapons. They are something you do with an unarmed part of your body. And so no, your gauntlet doesn't work. But if you are a Minotaur paladin with horns that are natural weapons, or if you are let me pull up some of these.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, we've got Dragonborn with claws, correct?
Dragonborn in 5th edition don't have.
They don't, but they have a feat that will give them claws.
They do have the feat. That's correct. But I just want to focus on some of the characters that have baked into their origins natural weapons, like centaurs. Centaurs have a hoof attack, which is a natural weapon melee attack. And so if you are a centaur paladin like my friend Feba here, you get to trample someone, attack them with your hooves, and smite them with your hooves.
I feel like forever you have the celestial burn from the hoof of just where you got smited. You just have a horseshoe on your body somewhere.
Right?
And a real angry story.
I just love this. I love this visual. I love this idea. Also, I love the idea of being a centaur paladin who then eventually has access to find steed so that you can summon a war horse so that you now have a horse, because I find that funny.
Okay.
But anyway,
I'll give you that since,
Yeah.
Centaur with a horse.
Centaur with a horse, not riding the horse, just
that seems weird and inappropriate.
That's a whole other can centaur ride horse because all those things. But anyway, be a centaur paladin, or if you don't want to go centaur, may I offer you this fine Lizardfolk paladin who their natural weapons are their jaws.
Right.
So
I don't want to
bite and smite.
No, I don't want to get bit by a smite.
Well, guess what? It's gonna happen. Bite and smite.
Is this some bite? Some bite?
How much spittle is involved in a smite?
A lot. It burns.
There's so much. So I'm gonna have to play one of these now because I find this amusing. And then I also gave Texas here a great sword because eventually you're gonna get multi-attack, and so why not bite and smite and great sword and smite and just get all of the smiting. But this will work with Aarakocra, Tabaxi, Leonin. What else has natural weapons?
I
Yeah,
mean,
any
yeah.
any of them, as long as it's listed as a natural weapon, you can smite with it, as now is clarified in Sage Advice and the errata. So go forth and make the bite and smite paladin you've always wanted to.
What if something's an improvised weapon? Can you smite with it?
That's different. So I mean, it is considered a melee weapon attack. So yeah.
If you have Tavern Brawler and you can like pick up a pencil and joker somebody,
And smite them with it.
smite them with a pencil.
Smite, or do the tavern brawler, the cliche, grab a chair, whack them with a chair, smite them with a chair.
Smite them with a chair. Wow. Yep. Or like just like a beer bottle. You're just like smite.
Alcoholic smite. That's the name of when the paladin retires and opens up a bar in Waterdeep, that's what they call the bar.
Yeah.
See, we've just created a whole character from there.